Okay, now we're going to deal with the Islamic gunpowder empires, and there's going to be three of them. So let's begin to take a look. And these three empires, the first and most important is going to be the Ottoman, then the Safavid, and then the Mughal Empire. We're going to take a look at these in each different screencast. So let's go ahead and let's begin with the Ottomans. Now, the very first thing I want you to note here is the Ottoman Empire. They were Turkish tribes, pastoral people that are going to unify, and they're going to flee the Mongols. And we'll look at that on a map real quick. And when they do that, they're going to run up against the Byzantine Empire that's declining because the Europeans in the Fourth Crusade had sacked it from Venice. And as a result of that, the Ottomans are going to be able to take the Byzantine Empire over by conquering Constantinople and control much of the trade routes at the end of the Silk Roads. In their founding, you need to make a note that they were founded by Turkish cavalry. And again, what I mean by that is the horses and everything like that attacking, they excelled at horseback riding. Still dealing with the founding, and if you look here, they came out of here, they were pushed by the Mongols. They unified, and then they attacked, and they were able to take the rest of the Byzantine Empire over because the Italians had attacked Constantinople during the Crusades and weakened it. And they were able to take it over by getting cannon fire and guns from the Europeans. And that's because the western part of Europe had broken with the eastern part over the religious disputes dealing with yeast and bread and could priests marry in the position of the Pope. So the Ottomans really were able to take advantage of this division in Christianity. Now, here's a picture of Constantinople, and if you see this in the exam, notice the walls, very fortified city. And again, the Ottomans are going to conquer this in 1453, ending the Byzantine Empire, and they're going to change it to Istanbul, and no longer called Constantinople. So again, dealing with the Ottomans, and let me show you this. Again, they fled. They became Turkish cavalry. They fled into Byzantium. They conquered it. But when they conquered it, and it's very, very important, they conquered an area where there were a lot of Christians and Jews living. And this became a multinational, multi-religious empire where you had basically a majority of Muslims who are going to rule a minority of other faiths, but it's going to be a huge multicultural, multi-religious, multinational empire. And that deals with the rise of it, question number 1. Makeup of the Ottomans here, and you look here, you've got the founding here, which I walked through, founded by Osman I. Mehmed conquered Constantinople, founded on military expansion. They were strong during the pre-modern era. They'll be weak during the modern era. There's some leaders, and we'll deal with that. Politics, and we're going to deal with the power factions coming up on the next slide. And then economics, you can see they control the Silk Road, what they traded, artisans and guild reform, inspected by the government. Now, let's take a look at the next question, and that's the power factions. You have the sultans, and they were very powerful in the pre-modern era, but they'll be weak in the next era, which will be the modern era, 1750 to 1900. You had the cavalry, which were the landed aristocrats. They were the ones who founded the empire. They'll become the landed aristocrats. Then you're going to have the wazir, and the religious scholars. The wazir is an advisor to the sultan, and he will actually become very, very powerful as time goes on. And then you have a group called janissaries, because the Turks took slaves from the Christians that were once part of the Byzantine Empire, and they're going to take their children and they're going to form them into an elite military group dealing with artillery or guns. And so you're going to see develop in the Ottoman Empire this fight between the artillery section of the military and that of the cavalry, which formed the old landed aristocrats originally. So these are the power factions, and they're going to fight for power. Here you can see the janissaries, but in your study guide you've got a question, explain the Desh-Shirmi. And if you look at that, the Desh-Shirmi, these are the janissaries, so they're known by two different names. And again, they were taken as Christian children and turned into the artillery. And they're not going to like the landed aristocrats who are part of the cavalry. Now, the next two, please name two important rulers. You have Mehmed II, who conquered Constantinople, and Suleiman the Great, who's going to bring, and he's going to bring the Ottomans to their greatest power, their greatest expansion, rebuild Istanbul, and make the Ottomans a great, great power, which they'll begin to decline after his reign. Social pyramid, you have the Sultan on top, followed by the religious scholars, and would you please write the Wazir here? Now, early sultans were strong like Suleiman, Mehmed II, but later sultans in the modern era are going to become very weak and going to be controlled by the Wazir. Landed aristocrats and janissaries, or the Decemir, artisan and merchants, common people, and then slaves. So you can see the social pyramid of the Ottomans here. I'm throwing this in as well because here as well is you have very, very important that you've got coffee houses were very important, and the Ottomans used coffee houses to discuss politics and religion, very analogous to Starbucks, so that culture based on coffee. Back up here for a couple of questions to do with your study guide here, and that is explain Jews and Christians in the Ottoman Empire. What is the nature of the Ottoman Empire? So the answer to this is you've got Jews and Christians that were conquered, and they're going to be down here, and they're not Muslims. They're going to be able to trade and own businesses and everything. Some will become janissaries, but they're going to be part of this. And again, you've got the Ottomans, a majority of Muslims rule a minority of other faiths, Christianity and Jews. So they're part of it. So the nature of this is it's multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multinational empire. The role of women? Well, first of all, you've got Sharia law exist, and therefore the veil exists. Some aristocratic women could have their own charities. Oftentimes, they were only able to go out into public things like weddings or funerals. Young men and young women were not able to get to know each other nor choose the person they were married. The choice of the bride was the prerogative of the man's mother, and if the girl's family agreed, the matter would be settled by the parents among themselves. So it'd be like your parents getting together with your future husband's parents and making the arrangement, and nothing to do with love. But there's going to be something true of women in all these empires. No woman should be involved in politics, but many sultans followed Genghis Khan's example with his wife Shabi, and again, they're going to consult their wives. Suleiman and Jahan in the Mughal Empire built palaces to the wives and listened to them. In the Safavid, one woman became a de facto ruler. Women, though, were under Sharia law and harems, that is, secluded, and often they could go out to funerals and weddings. They could do that. Now, these are aristocratic women. Common women were much more freer to move because they had to work on the farms and the fields and make artisan goods and everything like that and go to the markets. But aristocratic women were much more sheltered in the harem, secluded, and the veil and everything like that.